Hello, Scotty. Welcome to Shortcuts Office Hours, as I just randomly decided to call it. But thank you for being on the stream. Do you want to?
Holy smokes! Thank you for having me. It is awesome to. This is very exciting. We've been talking about like maybe getting around to this for some period of time.
Yeah.
That appear. I think that's kind of my move though now is just to like talk about a thing for a while, and then at some point it will be the correct thing to do, and then
I feel like I almost forgot that I didn't have you on the stream. So
yeah, and then the timing is right, and then we do it, and it's great. I'm super pumped.
perfect. All right. It looks like we got Chris here. Hello, Chris.
Oh, Chris Lawley's
Ooh, I
on the
can
line.
ban him.
Now you know it's got now the pressure's on.
That's
See, because he's good at this thing.
I mean, so are you. So that's why I'm having you on. So I wanted to let people. I guess tell people about who you are briefly, and also please plug your podcast. And then let's talk about shortcut stuff. And don't be too humble. So you're really good at shortcuts. I'll say that to start you off. And you've been playing around with some stuff.
I'm having a technical problem.
Oh, technical difficulties?
Sorry. Something happened and now my sound is all messed up. I think you can hear me, but
can you not hear me?
I can't hear you. And I know that's my fault. I know it's something that I did. So
no worries.
Bear with me a moment here.
Okay, Chris is telling me. Okay, you can hear it?
Yeah.
Good to go? Okay, cool.
Use take two. We can fix that in post, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how life works.
That's good. I'm going to need everyone to just jump in a DeLorean, get this thing up to 88 miles per hour.
No worries.
3 minutes, and we'll just do it all again.
So yeah, tell people who you are and please plug your podcast as well and what you've been doing in shortcuts. Just briefly.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Scotty Jackson, and I have the esteemed pleasure of co-hosting a podcast, Nested Folders, with Rosemary Orchard, and we talk about productivity. Hopefully, more from the perspective of here's how we approach problems and productivity through mental models and problem solving. Less about apps generally, and it's fantastic, and I have so much fun doing it. We just released the 50th episode today. Today was the 50th episode, and that dropped earlier today at nestedfolderspodcast.com. For me, aside from that, I also love to blog about productivity. Productivity is a big, and thinking about my own personal workflow and self-management is a big part of how I get through my life. And I can be found at heyscottyj.com. I write a lot about, shortcuts to me is my sort of preferred I guess approach to building my own structures. There are apps that I like, but shortcuts is my jam in terms of putting all those sorts of things together because I'm not a developer. I don't write scripts or anything like that. It's like the perfect entry point for me into like automation and building features that don't live on my phone natively because it's visual and I understand the flow of everything. So I was using workflow back in the day. And then now shortcuts and now all my apps speak shortcuts and I love it.
Nice. I love that. I love your podcast also. I think I've tweeted at you multiple times that sometimes it feels like it's just personally made for me, especially like at the time too. Like it's always very odd when I'm just like, oh man, I'm struggling with tags. And then it's like, there's a new episode out about tags. And I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. Like that was helpful. Or I'm like, do it 3 hours earlier because I needed it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's so funny though because we have like this running list of like topic ideas and it's probably about many lines long. I don't know. There's a shortcut for it, and we'll check our Airtable later. But oftentimes the topic we end up actually doing is probably selected about 48 hours ahead of time, fair. And then we're like this super like here is this thing that we are going. Moment and in this time, so it's very cathartic and therapeutic, I think, for us too to be able to have a conversation about a thing that is either problematic or and be able to work through it.
Nice, that's good. That's the best kind of podcast. I feel like that happens to me all the time too. Also, just for anyone listening, please ask questions in the chat. I dropped my audio. Also, I was gonna ask if the audio levels are all right because I think I have them a little bit set weird. So I might be too loud or Scotty's too soft, but please let me know one way or the
You
other what
started
you
coming in a
prefer.
little bit hot there for a
Okay,
moment,
cool.
but that might be me. I don't know. I'll play with the digital crown or something
Yeah.
for a while.
Also, I'll just say real quick. That's what I didn't like about those because the audio was independent of any sort of control, so I could never trust that what I was hearing was level or not. Because if I had that turn that, that's a different level than the audio that I recorded. So like that kills
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, see, I'm such a consumer. Like, I don't.
Yeah. See,
Okay.
I'm
We don't do our podcast live. I can fix that all in post, right? So,
let me also.
oh, I can't wait till I finish this redesign work. I can't wait until I finish. I'm working on some redesign work, and I feel like it needs a little bit of love. Why not, right? Mm. Oh, you're getting
Oh
iMessaged.
no. Okay.
Listener Christopher Lawley
I pressed the mute
does not
button
have
somehow.
audio.
So okay, great. I don't. How did
Oh,
that happen? I wasn't even.
did that mute me too?
You know what? No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I hit my Stream
Oh,
Deck, so I'm gonna move it.
that's neat.
It should be coming.
That's
It
good.
should be
Now
fine
I
now.
can do like a brute force attack on your YouTube channel and join you and mute you, and then I just start talking about stuff.
Classic. It's it should be okay now. I think the chats are coming in a little bit delayed. I wonder if I can turn that up also. But
It's okay.
my bad. Thanks, folks. That's what I said. I moved my Stream Deck to the left and then just punched it. I'm pretty sure, and while I wasn't paying attention, and so I muted myself. So I was just
Usually
saying that
that's
we're
step
gonna
three
go
of
through
troubleshooting.
these shortcuts, and that also you're sitting pretty with the Charties or the
Mm,
OmniFocus export because folks are left in the dust. So that's a little bit
I can't
brutal.
help you with that, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Um. So I think let me also just check real quick. I was gonna say Jeff was jumping in. Stuart was saying bring on the epiphanies. Bill is here too. Okay, nice, cool. Chris, nice to see you as
Epiphanies.
well.
Uh-oh.
we'll
Is
we'll have
that
them.
this
Don't worry.
channel? Is that this
It
show?
always
That's
it
good. Oh, I
always
can't wait.
it'll get there. There's always something.
Okay.
So I think the making meetings with shortcuts thing. Let me just bring that up. So you were doing the user interview with your use case.
Hmm. So this is funny because I actually built this shortcut. I don't know. I want to say about 6 months ago because I had to do like a whole bunch of user interviews with people, and I found much like everything Google would tell me is that you can create an event and you can give it a title and a time and all those things, but what you cannot do is invite people automatically, and that
Yeah.
made me super sad. Um, and then I had to do another round, and I pulled up my old shortcut, and I was like, God, this has to have been fixed by now. And I looked at the add event action, and sure enough, like there's no place for invitee.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, well, hang on a second, hang on. Was it 14.4 that we got like the
Uh,
edit event and edit
I
reminder
think so.
actions?
Well, I can't remember what the
So
difference between 14.3. I know. I think one of them was home screens, and
or was
then
it
the other
14.3?
one. Yeah, but the all of
Yeah, it
the.
was one of the
Let me
14s,
pull it
one
up.
of the 14 dots. Um,
Edit
So yeah, you can
reminder.
edit reminder and edit calendar event. So it occurred to me, I'm like, well, I wonder if I can add the invitee after the fact. Like, oh, maybe I'll just make the event first and then add the invitee. And sure enough, you actually can. So despite the fact, because I
Yeah.
searched it again, And I'm like, and all by all accounts, it looked like no, there's no solution for this. The edit event will do it. So yeah, you can't do the invitee at the time of creation, but you can do it afterwards. And then someone on Twitter mentioned, oh, that's really neat, except that, like then you don't like see it happen. So I thought, oh, you know what, this shortcut at the end, that's a really important idea, is maybe at the end add, a show event. Is that what it's called?
Show in calendar.
Show
That's what
or
it's
show in
called.
calendar. There you go. Boom. So show that edited event in calendar. Now you get a visual confirmation. So basically, the intent of this is, yeah,
Matthew
who's
and
the person
Scotty.
you're going to address to? Who's it? Oh, yeah, there you go, Scotty. And
Email.
then the email of the participant. So this is where the invite is going to go. This is going to
Oh
be.
no. Okay. Shoot, I looked up and thought it was out of focus, but that's just shortcuts blurring it out.
No, that's a shortcut. It's
um,
blurring the background with the.
I guess I'll
So
just
it's
put it
because
in
they took
mine real
a
quick.
screenshot of the dialogue in portrait.
So let's just say tomorrow. Is this this might not work properly,
That's
but
funny.
nope. I was gonna say because I'm on the event, I didn't think it worked. User interview with Matthew. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like I can't do it to
you
myself,
made it.
but it didn't add the.
Oh,
That's okay though.
oh, right. Oh, because it didn't add the
Yeah,
invitee,
I don't want to
but it
put
should
your
have still
email
made the event, right?
in. I'm not sure actually. It looked like it
Thank
wasn't.
you.
I don't. Oh no, there it was. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
All right.
Why is it? It did next
It
Tuesday.
defaults to a week in the future.
I didn't notice that.
That's
Okay,
the default. Just to prevent me from accidentally making stuff in the past.
Monday at 2 p.m. Was that?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I know that I future dated
Yeah.
by
I
default.
mean that's a good strategy is to set a specific time here, and it can kind of intelligently figure it out. I think for a while when I was at Workflow, I was trying to debug. I think I was trying to do this Sunday or like next Sunday, and then just in terms of programming that, deciding whether or
Mm.
not that means like this Sunday or next, like the next Sunday or after that was like something where I like shortcuts
Oh.
was doing it wrong, and it was like always, it would always skip a week no matter what, and I couldn't get it to do it. Pretty sure even
I've had issues with like starting dates and starting times too, like to the point where I got into like rather than like using a date and time action, I would actually use text
yeah
and then just say like just use the text
yeah
because the text
exactly.
the text is right.
This get start of week was the one that I was trying to do for a while because like how do you
Oh,
do the math to start like the calendar week was mostly what it is because I have a whole thing with calendar weeks that I love because it's very clear
mm,
where in the year you are with a calendar week versus like I mean even just referencing a week is like oh from Sunday April for or like March 31st to April like just that time frame is a weird thing to type out and if you just say week for 43 like you can go in there and check
mm.
it's all in like
Well, I imagine there's a localization factor there too, right? Because you might have to check because some people the week might
so
start on Sunday, some people the week might start on Monday.
that's fair. I think you can, if you want to talk about date time calculations. I have a whole
No, I do
shortcut.
not. I do not. There is a whole like vortex of videos and explainer videos that I will never ever understand.
to look, we're week
That
14
just
right now.
remind me how hard time is.
The reason I mentioned it is because I have a shortcut that specifically. Let me remember where is it. I have my whole color thing. I just got it all fancy
I
again.
love it. You're zooming through that. I love it so
Was
good.
it? I don't remember actually. I just did so much to my library that now I lost stuff. Okay, I don't remember what it is, but I have it on my website still. But it pulls up the date time like standards for all of that stuff. So like you can get calendar
Mm,
weeks starting on Sundays or calendar weeks starting on Mondays, and like there's a different little code to go for that. So Chris is saying that
that's
all
cool.
weeks should start on Monday. Sundays is wrong. My favorite thing
Hmm.
about I've been setting these is just to have the week starts today is what it is. Whoa, that's so motivational, you know? Sorry, you're supposed to say that. I just sound
Forget
like an
everything that's
idiot
happened
saying
up to
it
this
about
point.
myself.
We're starting now.
But
Now
it's
we're starting.
the
Now we're
the
starting.
setting to have it always start today really does like I don't know. It's like sorry, I'm gonna move on. I'm having too much fun with that. All right, back to this. So user interviews with the setting and that's a good point to always show the thing afterwards. That's an
It's a
interesting.
good visual confirmation. I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of faith necessarily like always in either myself or systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the last like okay I've had a look. I mean it's kind of too late in a way because I think the invite's already gone out by the time you see it. But at least you can
Put a
catch yourself and
pause.
go whoa wait no. Oh, that's a good idea. Put the show first and then add the person.
I'd
You
also
could even
do.
put a like are you ready to add this person? Like, is this ready to go? You could do like I could totally emotionally manage myself with a yeah. Do you want to
Event
continue? Like you
created. Do you want to continue with the invite? And then it just
yeah.
has
You could even say do you want to continue with adding, and then the variable name of the email address as an invitee.
adding new event.
Nope. It's not a parameter. It's going to be actually
I could just do
because
attendees.
it's not going to have it's not going to have attendees yet though because we haven't added them on yet. Because
See.
that's in the edit action. I think I named the variable. If you scroll up, did I name the variable or is it just a magic?
This one? The new event
Nope.
or the participant
No,
email?
the participant email. There you go.
Okay, or just the participant name. Yeah, email is
You
probably
could. I
smart.
mean,
I like that.
email is going to be the like that's the part worth double checking. Well, or maybe both even like name and then open parentheses email close parentheses.
Both? Yeah, I see. That's going to be in here then. Participant name. Wait, what we were saying about the punctuation? Like,
Oh, and
no,
then
just
just
parentheses?
put it in parentheses. Yeah.
Do you want to continue
I
with
mean, now we're getting a little bit
inviting? No, that's a
tricky.
good. I think that's a good. I would totally do that. So I think that's a good example.
This is a version 2.0 already.
So I guess at this point, I was going to say show result. You could just say like they've been added, or you could show the calendar event itself.
Yeah.
Also, I guess there is a date or there's a get details of attendees.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a
so
good
you
point.
can even get like if they haven't accepted it yet, then do something else. Like you can get that deep. So that's actually a good.
Oh,
You should.
wow. You could
Maybe
make
we
a
could
little
do it now,
follow-up
but
version
we
to
could take it.
this.
Yeah, it's like you could have a whole filter where like if they haven't accepted this event, you could look to see if you already created the event for the person, and then whether or not they've accepted it, and then like do the whole invite process. I'll just get
Do it
name.
again.
Also, just in case
And I
if
will
they're
just keep inviting them until they come and join me in my call.
yeah, exactly. I think this will. If this is get details of attendees, and there's multiple, like I'm just saying this out loud to say it. It will just pass those all
We
as
could do
one
it
chunk,
with each.
which
Yeah.
actually happens a good amount with shortcuts where you can like even if you aren't repeating with each, you can get multiple details from one thing using one item, which I think isn't always clear. So let's just say name was added to the event. Oh wait, we wanted. Yeah, no, that's right.
Hmm.
Anything else? I feel like that's a pretty solid. Oh wait, actually,
No, that's
let me just for this could be up here in the title.
okay.
Yeah, I've always wanted to look at Apple's style. I should just do this another time, but look at Apple's style guides for
The
what.
design language.
Yeah, exactly. Like what should be in the top. Because I mean, I know that the whole like okay and cancel thing. I wish we could create buttons like that like this option, and that'd be an awesome addition.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for people who are watching, please leave a question of future things you want to see in this stream specifically. Like we are going to answer questions in a second too. So another I mean, is there anything else about this? Should we just test it again, or do you have an email address that you'd be comfortable using, or I could use my like work email, basically, I guess.
Sure, maybe
I'll
do
just
that.
do that.
I should probably have like a proper Hey Scotty J oriented email address, and I just don't because I need an MX record. I need to now taking suggestions for email hosting or email domain service or email MX record hosting.
What is a refer?
To my
is
iCloud.
That in this?
Okay, so so I mean, in this case, you'd have to look at like the clump text for it to make sense. But I gathered names of people that I would do user interviews with based on like talking to pals, because we have 30,000 people who work in the company. So like I would just say like, hey, are there some people in your area or your department that would be good to talk to about X? And so, rather than like full on cold calling these people, I thought it would be good to like say, hey, I was sent your way by this person's name that you would know, so that, it's not, I mean, I'm kind of cold calling you, but I'm cold calling you. And I mean, it was really just an example for the particular use case for anyone's use in the actual shortcut. Does that make sense? I don't know, but it's a neat, different like spot to ask for input, so that you are customizing the content and doesn't look like entirely prefabricated by a machine.
Does it just go in the notes? I just didn't notice on the event, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it just goes in the notes.
Well, here's Chris saying, how do
just
I
says like,
awesome?
hi, participant name. How do you
So
okay,
that's a referral.
First of
right
all,
there.
Like Christopher Lawley just made my day. So you're you I can't even respond to that.
Email.
I just want to be as good at shortcuts as you are at YouTube, Chris, and then we're gold.
And then let's just do tomorrow. Do you want to continue inviting Cassinelli Consulting to the event?
Yeah, say that. Look at that. And then he was added. Bloop.
And then back to the calendar. User interview with Cassinelli Consulting. Nice. That's awesome. Ooh, and even, I was going to say, does it do, I can't remember if Fantascal, if I create it with the Fantascal action, would it automatically do like a Zoom call invite? That is a...
Oh, maybe. Okay, so that's the other thing. I think when you import the shortcut, it's got an import question at the very top.
Yes.
For text, which is like, what do you want the location to be?
Yeah,
so that it won't ask you. It'll just set that, and then it would be. I mean, for me, I would use a URL for either like a Google Meet or I'll FaceTime you! Exclamation mark party hat emoji.
I think doesn't Zoom. Oh, I might not have it on this iPad, but I think they have. I think it's just a donated action to start your personal meeting. I don't think it. I mean, I've had a shortcut that just had my like meeting link, or you could stick it in data jar or something like that. So that's a good idea.
To put everything in data jar.
I did a little too much, and then I think I got overwhelmed, or I started dragging data on top of each other and ruining it all, which was kind of difficult to like fix. I was like, oh God, what do I do? Oh, interesting.
I love data jar. I've been my other I know this has got to be transferable to like a lot of different things, but I've been using data jar for so like I have a list of OmniFocus projects that I might want to add an action to at a given time, but I keep that list of projects actually in data jar because they're single action lists, like things that will always be happening, like finances, home and household, wife, kids, dogs, that kind of thing. But because I might move them around in my folder architecture, I don't reference them specifically in the shortcut as OmniFocus items. I have a data jar list, and then I say choose from list, and then I say, okay, based on this choice, OmniFocus, go find me the project that has this same name.
Yeah.
So and you could use that for like just about anything, really, as it's just sort of a way of keeping an inventory of things that you might interact with in a variety of ways. You could use that with things like in a URL. In a URL scheme of like this project or that identifier, or notes in Ulysses, or notes in drafts, or agenda, or anything.
I haven't kept it fresh, but This is my data jar stuff of like
Look at that.
I
Look at that
had.
profile picture. Oh my God, that is so smart.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was a good one. I remember
Hey
being like,
Siri.
hell yeah. Or email
Oh my
signature.
God.
Um,
Okay, that is super smart having a
Instapaper
profile picture
lists.
because okay, so I this is like the second time I've used Skype in like 8 years. And I was going to go and update my profile picture in it, and I couldn't find my avatar, and like whatever, I don't care. But it would be super smart to have it like just stored in a data jar spot. That is super clever.
Yeah. We got a good question. How do we convince or coerce, I'm not picky, more app developers to better support shortcuts? I totally think
Mm.
that's fair. I think what's always a struggle is the balance that I've just seen of, here, let me bring us back up, of both supporting, just like going deep with those actions and knowing what people want. Like, I think we should all band together and write our, like, your blog posts are a great example. Like, honestly, I swear to God, the people at OmniFocus like love that. And every time that somebody writes a blog post and explains a specific way that they would use shortcuts with one of their like actions and things like that for their app, that helps so much because they just like developers don't use shortcuts more than us, and so they don't know what they want from it. And it's also the
Mm.
exact thing where it's so hard to think of your it's so easy for us to think of somebody else's thing, but when it's your own thing, you're like, I don't know what would be useful, or it's like so close to the chest. I think that it's really hard to think of ways that other people would automate it in real life. And so I think that's why writing out examples or having requests like
Real
this
use
is a good,
cases.
yeah, exactly. That goes really far. And then just like writing it up. And I mean, I think with anything in life, if you make it extremely easy for them to just be like, oh, I'll just do that, like, then that's great. Like, that's what I do is I just tell developers what I want. But I mean, obviously it's a little different when I'm like the shortcuts guy or something, but it's also hard to
Well, you're
just,
Matthew Cassinelli. We can't all be Matthew Cassinelli.
yeah. And just
I
dedicating the
wish we could.
resources and the mindset for shortcuts, I think is sometimes the hardest part. So I think I want to get more developers together too and ask what their problems are with shortcuts, or if I feel like it's one of those things where it sounds really hard and then in actuality doesn't take a ton of work, but it is like a pretty big decision. And so I think that's why more apps don't develop that or offer that.
I mean, I'd be interested in understanding like what the barriers are from a developer perspective, and then hope also too that like as you get feedback that they don't take the OmniFocus approach, which is, oh, I know, let's write our own automation language that Scotty can't read and make Scotty sad.
Brutal.
um I I mean it's neat that it's cross platform. They've done like this whole automation stuff in some form of JavaScript, but like that's above my level of understanding.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think talking in very specific use cases of like, if I had a shortcut that did this, and is kind of, like a fairly basic or elementary version of shortcut, like let's not start with the, you know, kitchen sink situation, but
Yeah.
like here's a basic and reasonable sort of shortcut, and if I had that, here's what I would do with it,
I think that's what
and here's what I'd be able to do with it.
I think that's what Apple kind of was getting at originally with the original version of shortcuts. Was supposed to be I don't know, like I didn't have any insight into that process just to start out, and then it seemed to me like a strategy of like, let's make it the easy versions first so that developers can figure that out and then make their shortcuts better once the more advanced APIs came out. And then those came out and they were like, well, I already made my shortcuts. And then or like people just like didn't know, or because those original shortcuts weren't as useful, I don't think they like blew up or got adopted a lot. And so just in terms of putting development work in, I could see why people might not put as much work in over time. Also, I
Yeah.
love this comment from Bill. Just what I'm getting is we convinced Matthew to tell app developers what we want.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to suggest, is like, let's Just send all the email to Matthew, and he's going to go to Apple and
Hey,
figure it all out for us,
feel
which
free to
is
sign up for
great.
my membership.
That's why we're here.
That
Yes,
helps
that's right.
a lot.
That
Doing
is
the
a members
feedback
only
to
feature.
straight to Apple I was like, that's not
right.
what I wanted to do for my job, and somehow I still ended up doing it. But I do it unpaid now. No. I mean, let's Bill, I'm gonna get you to your other question in a second, but let's go back to your shortcuts, Scotty. Because another thing I wanted to mention was that's still up there. The other edit options. So you can also edit
reminder,
and then also edit contacts. So let's just make some real quick. Why don't I just add new reminder? Got a little keyboard down here in case you guys were wondering. I would have figured out. So you can grab out title, notes, priority, completion, field list, URL, images, subtasks, parent reminder. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones are pretty powerful.
Yeah, totally. You can basically pull any attribute of a reminder and change it. And like, to me, like, that is like the flagship action. I keep showing that to my friends at Omni Group, like, hey, this would be super. Well, if I could have me one of these, here are all the things that I would do with that.
What would you do?
Oh boy. I mean, what I would love to do is start parsing tasks. So sometimes, like if I send something from mail drop, for example, I could look for anything that I have sent that has like colon space, like RE capital letters colon space at the front. I would know that I had mail dropped that to myself, probably BCCing my Omni drop address. I would look for all of those in the inbox because that's where they would be, no doubt. And I would remove the colon, and I would instead preface it with read/review or follow up on email. That I might flag them all, or I might tag them in a particular way. So I could find a whole bunch of tasks and then bulk treat them all at once. I had a couple of lists of things that I would do with that sort of thing.
That's interesting. So partially is, so it would be like find, and then I didn't think about the
find and then
repeat, and then do some sort of, I mean, like, I don't know about a text operation necessarily, but by like getting, it's like get the title of everyone and then do all that. Even, I guess you could reset the details in there too. That's cool. So you could like add action words to every single one of your tasks this way or something like that. I'm just imagining.
Like I was thinking
I
could start doing like some of my own like mini markup in like drafts or something like that. So if I had like %S could mean tag this as someday maybe. So like go through all of the tasks that are in my inbox and contain %S space, and then remove that and instead tag it as someday maybe.
That's cool. Oh, even if you could change the I guess it's the tag, not a field in OmniFocus. I just don't remember. I guess would this someday maybe be a custom thing, or is that like?
Oh, I would assuming like,
or like
I would imagine like set tag of task to that.
So you can't do that in OmniFocus.
If such a thing
is this even? Honestly, you know what? I bet this isn't even possible yet. Now that we're going back to that thing of, if this just released in 14.3, I bet these are new APIs. So I wonder if we could expect this in the fall, because
I have learned not to expect things.
Well, okay.
Expecting things makes me sad.
We could expect the feasibility to increase in the fall.
Yes.
Or after WWDC.
Honestly, it would be awesome. Although at WWDC, I'm also just really hoping to see shortcuts on Mac OS. Yeah. That would make me super happy, and then I would get a Mac again, probably.
I'm not personally like holding my breath, I guess. It's for That's a big app, I would say. It's just stuff takes time. That's like the
I know.
biggest lesson that
I
I
know.
learned with the like even with working with people as talented as the workflow team of just like how much time some engineering tasks can take. So
Mhm.
I feel like, I mean, if Catalyst can make, or what, I mean, not Catalyst, but like, I don't know if all that stuff can make a good deep Mac app like that. I'd love it. But I just have, I try not to set expectations with something that's that large just because otherwise I'm going to feel disappointed.
Yeah,
This
no,
year
no.
we'll get
That's
this
why I
on the
say I don't
iPad.
wish to expect. I just want. I
Yeah,
just want. I don't
exactly.
expect.
That's a good point. It's like this year we'll get multitasking fixed on the iPad. No.
Oh, that'd be neat.
I think the one that, so you can do a whole subtasks and parent reminder situation too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it gets janky though. Like
What?
I have yet to find a task managing application that does like parent and subtask really in the way that my mind thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, as soon as like a task like has a parent task that has a parent like project or whatever, like to me that's now a hierarchical thing. And both reminders and OmniFocus do that like super weird. I like the things has like the checklist inside a task, so they're like, this is not a subtask. This is like a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
separate like checklist, but it's in. I think their implementation of it is probably by far the best because you can't get to a checklist item outside of the context of that task. I don't know, I just use the word context,
Yeah.
and I have to put it in a jar.
No, it's and that's fair. Hold on. It's YouTube muted Chris's latest comment. I'm not sure why he was saying watch my latest video.
Oh,
It's treating it as
because
spam.
he's using? Is it
It's
multitasking is
emoji,
fine.
maybe. I'm not sure.
Multitasking is fine.
I love it.
It's fine, super fine.
The other one that I was going to mention too, I think I have a shortcut that I'm pretty sure I built like 95% of it, got really excited, and then set it aside and didn't come back to it. But is for contacts, which is adding notes. Because I feel like that was something that always seemed like a really good business strategy of just like writing down something about somebody in the contacts. Actually, it's probably select
that
contact.
CRM kind of feeling.
Exactly. And it's just built in now. So you can just find somebody and just say, like, what do you want to add as a note? Set notes.
Oh, wow. Look at all those things.
To what things? Oh, just the ability.
Well, just all the attributes, right?
Yeah.
You can even get like the phonetic name.
Yeah, that stuff is cool. I don't know where it pulls that from, if that's the automatically generated stuff. Yeah. These detail ones all have so much. That's why sometimes what you can do with shortcuts is so wild, and like the fact that you could take any one of those things and create like conditionals off of it and things like that. Just like if it's somebody's birthday, like you can go through your entire contacts list of people whose birthday it is today. Like I have birthday reminder stuff. Okay, let's just do Scotty Jackson. Is this gonna send?
No,
Scotty cool.
It's probably just going to be fine.
I just realized I don't want it to show your if I confirm this and it shows your personal information.
That's fine.
I'm just gonna take it off stream risk. Let's see it. Yeah, no. It instantly showed your phone number.
This shortcut totally worked, and it's awesome.
It does. Here, wait. Let me double check. I'm just gonna. Yeah, literally, like it did instantly show your phone number. So I'm glad I did that because
oh, nice.
I make that mistake all the time. So nobody look.
That's funny.
Oh yes, it does say Scotty is cool.
This is my password.
Can I?
My password. Added as notes.
There you go.
There you go. Sure.
It says it.
Look at that. Look at that emoji.
Okay, sorry. I should know better than to do contacts-based shortcuts in the middle of a stream.
No, you know what though? This is other shortcut I'm working on right now, and it'll be done will be done in time for May because I'm working with Tim Stringer on Learn OmniFocus.
Oh,
And one of
nice.
the things that I want to do is have a whole demonstratable database in OmniFocus that has like a whole bunch of different tasks, a whole bunch of different projects with a variety of like due dates, like whether something is overdue or due soon and so on. So I thought what would be neat is to have a shortcut that just like builds, here's a whole bunch of projects and folders and stuff like that, and builds that all out
Mm-hmm.
so that um, when I go for demo day, like whatever day that is, any edits or changes I made, previously, they'll all just get erased. Um, but it'll add like, day of thing +2 so that it looks like it's due soon, and so on. And then if anyone also wanted to look at any of the metadata, it's like, oh, look, there's like my task added, June 7th, 2017. Well, that's dumb. I'd like to have a database that looks like it's, cared for and fed, even if it isn't.
Yeah.
So demonstratable content is probably something worth having. We should invent. We should maybe make a couple of shortcuts for like here's my pseudonym contact, and you could like, I don't know, could you put that in like a separate account,
Um.
and then just disable your main iCloud account and then add another one.
Yeah. I know that. I mean, they should
Not
just
so
make it
Cassinelli.
easier. Um. Instead. But instead of just not showing your personal or like, I don't know, streamer probably not. But who was it? Antonio in the Shortcuts user group created a whole group of fake contacts, and then I don't remember what he does or how he did it, but he just like interacted with them a ton so that they just always would show up in Shortcuts instead of the personal information of the people that he was trying to interact
Wow,
with, and it was like had a whole fake system going.
that's wild.
Also, I'm just gonna say I accidentally Ecamm has this button for ban right next to add to broadcast, and so I was trying to favorite Bill's comment, and I accidentally banned him and then
Oh,
unbanned him. So it like deleted
oh,
all of his messages from the stream too.
Bill, I'm so sorry. That's
They added this feature, and I don't think they thought that through. It's like right next to all the same, like either add them or ban them immediately. It's like great. Whoops.
wow.
Um. Oh no.
Confirmation dialogue. You're in or you're out. Wow.
I am losing you occasionally, by
It's
the
a hard,
way,
it's a hard life.
to the robot Skype garbling. But
Oh,
it's
sorry.
only happened every once in a while, so we're good. What was the other
Hmm,
contact one?
it's the glitch.
Oh no, it was a reminder thing. That did you hear that? I'm not sure if you listened to Back to Work, but Merlin was trying to figure out exactly when he created reminders so that he could go backwards and then basically like remember when he created that. So that's when I remembered to like defrost the chicken was like 6 hours ago, and then the metadata from being able to go
Oh,
in. Hold on, I switched my keyboard, so I'll just do it here.
I don't want to talk about the way in which I listened to Back to Work because it's bananas.
Over
I can't
from the
remember at
beginning.
what point. I got on the train like late, and so I'm caught up. I think I'm in the 400s now.
I think I tried
But
to
I
do
was
that,
listening to like
and then I was like,
I was listening to like 10 episodes a week for a little while, and I don't know that was one of the it's the best life choice. I mean, it's great content. I mean, I'll listen to that stuff all day long, but then I missed out on things that were like of the present. Listening to podcasts referring to like the state of like apps and Apple 4 years ago wasn't necessarily like
yeah, exactly,
the
especially that kind
most
of stuff.
enriching. It's a nostalgia feature though. Can you get like the added date? Is there metadate creation date?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
almost
can.
any media has file size, file extension, creation date, and last modified and name in Shortcuts.
Hmm,
Like it'll automatically add those. Um, but also
that's really cool.
sometimes,
So,
depending on what it is, the creation date might be like the moment that you ran it for like get my
mm,
shortcuts. I think sometimes it just doesn't read it
right.
properly. Like the act of getting the data is creating a new copy versus sometimes it can get the actual information. But so then like this one would be, what is the reminder?
It'd be kind of neat though, like because you could do find reminders where, and then one of the conditions could be like created in the last 48 hours. And then
Yeah.
you get the creation date, and you could like even stamp that into
Nope.
into the title. So you
It
could
didn't
get
work. Does this not work
you
anymore?
could get the what?
It just didn't work.
We get it.
From
Do you have any items in your inbox?
Yeah, I just showed one.
Oh,
This used to work. This always happens with me with shortcuts too, is that like stuff that did work doesn't, or it also specifically doesn't work on stream.
okay.
Last modified date does. 147. I guess that's when I created it today. So
Okay, but why doesn't the creation date work though?
oh no, it does.
Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
weird.
Okay. You try turning it off and on again.
Yeah.
So you could do like, show me all the stuff that's created in the last 48 hours. And then you could even do like, now take that creation date and stamp it into the title. So you could, change, edit reminder and like set the title.
Oh,
to have
like specifically. I mean, even just like as you create it, it could say it in the notes.
You could
for
do that too.
like right away, so you can just check it. But I think
because I don't think that
I think
is
I did
available.
Like adjust date and check the difference, and then just tell you in the shortcut as well.
Because if you look at a given reminder, there's nowhere in the UI that shows you when it was made.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a lot of information like that that's in shortcuts, or that's accessible via shortcuts that otherwise you wouldn't be able to. I mean, just the fact that you can repeat through all this stuff. Like I recently moved out of reminders into craft and things just to like split out some stuff that was stuck in there for a long time, and being able to do that in batches is like, I love that. That's so nice when you can just like run a shortcut and it just iterates through the entire list and puts it into your task manager, like without sitting there going like this. It's like, I just would never, I can't imagine. I mean, it really enables bad habits that I have, because I just know that I can do that. And so I will move in between task managers and just batch it all. And I'm like, I saved so much time, but I actually built the shortcuts and did all this other stuff too. So
I was talking, we did an unnested folders episode. It's December or January. And we were talking about how I like went on a vision quest amongst many different task managers. And I built shortcuts that like took my entire OmniFocus database and rebuilt it in things. So I could like one click, boom, and it was just transported. And vice versa, things to OmniFocus also.
Except for
no, sorry. But you had to trigger it from the share sheet of stuff and things. So you had to kind of piecemeal it because...
But it also doesn't things... what's even more dumb is that... So what specifically the problem is that when you share from things... I think it won't also copy the checklists out of those tasks or the notes.
Yeah, just titles, I think.
But if you share from the task, it will copy all of that information out. And I was like, so you literally have it available, and it's just not in the way that you've built it. And that's like, come on. It kills me. I was talking to Chris. I feel like they've left the pro users behind this year by not supporting these kinds of things. But
it's tough. Like, I mean, they know who their market is, I guess, right? Like OmniFocus clearly has, like, they're oriented towards like people like, oh, let's write JavaScript to manage my tasks. Okay, cool. Then OmniFocus, I guess, right? But like, if you want to like pick up a pencil and start like organizing your tasks, then things is amazing.
I mean, if you try to do anything on iPad manually with OmniFocus, I feel like you're going to be poking a lot. That was what was my tweet? That I had to move 200 tasks, and I was like, with all this metadata, this would literally be 3,000 taps right now. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. Like, I just can't use this tool anymore. Like, all right, I need to let's move on, because I don't want to just
okay. Let's lamenting things.
So the other stuff we were talking about, and let's do this one, and then let's do Bill's question after that too, because it's also like pretty overall useful thing. So this was the fancy one. This wasn't the one that you made, is it?
Wait, what?
Did you do a Slack one also, or did I get this from somewhere else?
Oh, I did a Slack one also. I don't think that is not Slack users
Okay.
to CSV. It's Slack to data jar.
Okay. The
Um,
Scrum.
the, well, the Scrum shortcut is what this one is all about. Um, yeah, I don't know how useful this is out of the box. Um,
Let me
but
just
what this does is I discovered Slack block kit, which is basically JSON text, and I included a screenshot there of my post.
here, let me.
There it is. And look, and it just like organizes content just so nicely. Like look at that post. Made me feel super happy. So one of the things that we do with my team is we scrum every day, and we get on a quick call and our video call, and we talk about like what did we do yesterday, what are we doing today, what do we need help with, what's going well in this sprint, what do we need help with, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're busy or calendars conflict or the spirit moves us, we'll do telescrum where we scrum on Slack. And I thought I would really like to make that automated, so I did. And so BlockKit is perfect because it lets you sort of organize chunks of content um, into into chunks of content.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean
like,
into
"Oh, who
blocks.
writes this shit?" Sorry. Um, yeah, so it lays out content really, really nicely. So I thought, okay, this is neat. I know that they kind of mean it for like newsletters or a variety of different things like that, but I thought I could use this for my
That is
Scrum
cool though.
posts. So there's a couple of different templates on their API pages, which is super cool. And then you can edit the JSON in place on the right hand side, and it'll update
Hmm.
in the it'll
That's
like
cool.
live update the display
Ooh,
there. So it's
type
really neat. So
debugger.
you basically get to kind of debug your code um, alive and as it happens. So what I did was I kind of put everything together the way I wanted to see it, and then I'm like, okay, so now how do I feed the content that would be variable into that construct?
So you
And
designed
so
it in here.
basically, I put a framework together in there for sure.
Okay, nice. Just checking.
And then the shortcut basically goes into my calendar and looks at, well, what were the events in my calendar that I had yesterday, and
Oh
then
yeah.
puts all the events in, and then what are the events that I have
Here, wait. So that's
today.
this section. As I was trying to check
Uh,
that earlier. This is
yeah.
just
So
this.
if
Oh,
we could, boy,
this is
we could
just
step
date
through it if you want.
calculations. Um, I want to look through
Uh,
real quick just to
yeah. So
like
that's figuring out. That's figuring.
mentally do this. Give me start. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so yeah. Find all calendar events where between yesterday, starting yesterday, and then I do a list choose from, and by default they're all selected, and I do that because maybe I don't want my team to see all the things that are in my calendar. In case there's anything.
I think there's ways to do this.
No, yeah,
No.
you
Okay.
would think. No, it gets super janky, and this is why I use text.
Um, that get start of day, and then did you do? Here, wait. Let me just double check. Yeah. Okay. I see what you were saying. You just did. Oh, it's subtract one. Okay. Yeah. You did it all right. Sorry. I was just double checking because I was like, shouldn't this be easier than half your shortcut so far was just getting the dates?
Yeah, so the text is yesterday, comma 11:59 p.m. because I could like it seemed to be it kept seeming to want to enforce like an actual time of day if I just
Yeah.
used the date. So
Because
I
it's
don't know. Maybe there's a way around that. I don't know. But
probably because of the way that those actions were formatted. Because they were expecting dates, or because it's a between thing, it's kind of got to be specific. If it's days,
well, I
it
tried to
has
have
to
it be
pick it.
start date is yesterday, but if I ran it at like 1 p.m., it would discount everything that was yesterday
Yeah,
before
that's
1
also
p.m.,
smart. Yeah, so I think
which
you
is
did
not
it
good.
right. It might just be a bit of. I did notice um you use a lot of set variables where you could use magic variables to make this shorter, although less readable, depending on how you on your mindset.
Yeah, this one I built it for readability, and I could have used magic variables and renamed the variables and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of good thing.
I
But
think it's
like
fair though.
I
When
kind
you're
of got
doing that
lazy.
kind of
Except it's
calculation,
fun.
it's helpful. And I even
Yeah.
I undervalue the fact that like they just show up right here, which is really helpful too. instead of always having to use magic variables. But okay, so we've got the calendar event, and then it just makes a list of those, and then it's looking
Yeah.
at current date, pick through that. Are these?
And
What
then
are you choosing? Why are you selecting these? These are just like, this is the event that I want to show in this.
Right. Yeah. So by
'Cause you
default,
don't
they're
wanna
all
show
included.
everything.
Like they're all selected. They're all multi-selected.
Mhm.
But then I give myself the chance to exclude. Like if there's a confidential thing or something
Yeah.
that was like a personal event or something like that, I don't want that automatically showing up in my post.
Nice. And then you put the line break in, and then your does OmniFocus need to accept
No,
/n?
that's a Slackism.
Oh,
Slack
okay.
takes the slash
I see.
n. So that takes all of the events and puts them in a new line.
Just to make okay. Let me just double
Yeah.
check. Okay, so then
And then the OmniFocus part is
getting your available
so the OmniFocus
tasks.
part is finding available items that are tagged as Scrum and available and flagged. So they have to
Wow.
meet those three conditions, otherwise they're what that basically means is that I'm very deliberately including specific content from OmniFocus here.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's
And
just automatic though.
then I repeat with each, and I have a dictionary in data jar, and this is like super cool. So the dictionary in data jar has each of my team members' names, and for each of them, it has their in Slack. It's like in pointy brackets at their API key.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you use that string of text, it mentions them. So it looks for their name in the title of the OmniFocus task and does a find and replace with their @mention, so that
Wow.
because again, I'm super specifically including stuff from OmniFocus here. So it lets me just shorthand. I can just write their name in, and they'll get @mentioned, and so that way they know that particular thing is for them or about them or something
That's
like
so
that.
cool though. That's like, see, that's why you're like, I don't know. Sometimes when you're like, oh, this is just like a nerdy thing, it's like these are like business workflows. Like that actually, this stuff could save tons of time and wasting man hours and stuff like that. Just going and copying and pasting your calendar details into your stupid Slack scrum that you hate to do. No, I'm just kidding. But
No, it's actually neat though, because like we're doing like a conversion to enterprise. I don't know if can I talk about that? Yeah, it's not secret, I don't think. And
wait, say that again. A
yeah,
conversion.
Slack is
what?
using this as like one of the value stories. So in like talking to the people across the company and saying like, here's one of the things that one of your teams is doing. That's cool.
I mean, you could have these run on time automations and things like that, like every day. And I mean, not. I guess
totally.
you have to manually select some of those, but there's ways that you could add layers. Okay, wait.
That
let's
text
keep
is super
going.
fun. That you just there's a text block there. So if the flags content, which is like OmniFocus tasks, does not have value, then it inserts.
Oh, I see.
Then there's a whole bunch of prefab JSON text, which basically says there are no flags, and then it presents a button that Rick rolls.
Let me do. Are you serious?
Because I'm a super jerk.
Wow. Let me pull up.
They all fell for it a grand total of once.
JSON. I have the keyboard connected to the wrong thing. Why is it not working? Can you paste JSON in? I think I saw.
Oh yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Nice. Type text markdown, and I love. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. Nope. Just the fact that it makes it all pretty also is very nice.
Oh wow, I didn't know it did that. That's even cooler.
There's a shortcuts action to do it too. Prettify JSON.
Right.
JSON.
Geez, I probably should have been using that while I was doing this too, because I kept pasting like stuff into JSON, like the app separately, and then like, because I that was the thing that slayed me on this. What is that Toolbox Pro icon? Holy smokes!
Oh, the workflow version. Yeah.
Nice. That was the thing that was the hardest part on this, is that like having the right number of bloody commas and curly braces. That was probably the hardest part.
Well, you didn't want to build it manually using the dictionary actions?
Well, in reflection, I probably should have done smaller bytes and like smaller sections, because then it would have been much easier to code the code.
Do you
Like
know
I'm a
about
developer.
building them like this? How you can do. All right, I did that wrong.
Stop.
Yeah, did you not know this?
Oh, of course. Write it like a dictionary, because then the output of the dictionary is JSON.
Yeah.
Well, I'm retiring.
I feel like
I'm
I feel bad now.
and I write web
I mean,
pages in Notepad.
sorry, that's not right. Accessory. Why does that word look weird? Yeah, see,
Oh my.
you can build out. I mean, I wouldn't say that this
Yeah,
interface is
I know
like,
what you're.
but once you get
Oh.
into arrays, it starts to get really weird and stuff, and you're like, it's not very
But I probably could
clear.
have at least written it in the JSON app more.
Yeah, or you could write it there, yeah, and convert it back.
I got into like this rut because I was copying and pasting from the block kit builder like page. The problem got into like where you're when we're doing like repeat with each sort of situations, and like
That's
wrapping that nicely. I
yeah.
kept messing that up.
And well, that's where you can use set dictionary value on these dictionaries to like set the
Yeah.
same data. There's ways to do it. I will say this is like shortcuts 400 level or 500 level stuff that this is like when I'm building API calls, I have to sit there and like process what I need to do, and it can get really weird too because you have to like build those above the point where you get to here, and then you set this afterwards. And so there's a lot of like going like this as you're going around, but it's almost just as bad as typing out JSON, depending on your
Well,
framework.
the
So
the number of things too that I figured out through like some random Google searches, like I was like, okay, cool, like I've got all the JSON text, like how do I send this to the API from shortcuts? Because I'm not like, because everything in the Slack API documentation assumes that you're like a smart person and
yeah,
using like a command line
well,
curl.
exactly.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a smart person. What's the shortcuts version of this?
Is
So I
that
had to figure
in
out like
here, or
what
is it
it. Oh,
their builder?
no, now you're looking into like the API stuff. Like, so this is to build the block kit, but then you're really just sending all that as HTTP post to the API. I think it's post message call or something like that. So so you'd look in the API section. But anyway, I figured out that you had to, and I think it was actually Simon tweeting back to someone that like answered it for me, is that you use a file type in the shortcuts action.
Here, right? We
So
just haven't even gotten
when
to
you
the end
send it, you do a get contents of URL, and then you say file, but the file is actually just text JSON.
It's just the dictionary,
which is weird because intuitively I'm like, it looks like it should be JSON, but if you choose JSON from the get contents of URL action, it like wants like dictionary formatted.
Yeah, it wants you to actually design. Oh, look, you have old stuff in there.
Yeah, and none of that's right.
Yeah, exactly. I think the main difference, really, what ends up happening probably is shortcuts is intelligently understanding that this is dictionary, especially once you declare it as a file there. Or, I mean, it's really like a JSON file is just a text file.
Yeah.
There's no difference except for it's telling it to interpret it the other way. Also, you can use get dictionary from input, and then that can kind of like for sure identify that this is a dictionary then. And then that is like it'll still just output text underneath it though, because shortcuts displays it as text. But yeah, that's a good tip for. I always forget also that it's like if you don't want to build the JSON into the request itself, you can do the file and then build it all outside. And you literally just build JSON also. I usually do a whole dictionary like this. But it's kind of, I don't know. It depends. I think that's mostly just because I don't want to do. I'm like allergic to code at that point. I'm like to program.
Me too. That's why this took me so long. I wish we'd had this conversation about 2 weeks ago.
See, that's what I'm saying. You always gotta hit me up before you get to the point where you're slamming your head against the wall.
But Matthew, I'm having an existential crisis.
This really isn't that bad.
An adult.
And you might not even have to do this. I would almost assume that
Mm.
doesn't need to happen. So wait, is this? Maybe I can. I'll have to look into it too. But
Those headers have to happen.
I didn't realize that you could do. No, I guess you could. Federico did his like do not disturb status a long time ago. So Slack
Just the
stuff is
same.
cool though. Like, and
Mm.
just because with
The
that whole
API is pretty easy to hit like work with too. Like once you've
this is
got
like
the
a Slack
knack.
bot without it being Slack bots. Like
Mhm.
you don't have to sit there and mess around with that. That's cool because I use. I mean, even for the user group, I'd love to be like, here's the newsletter, and it like posts it in a fancy style like that or something like that. That's cool. I'm gonna have to make my
The other
own.
thing, I think there's a companion link in that blog post of mine. If you bring it up,
Oh yeah,
um, there is
Jake Bathman.
yeah, the second yeah, Jake Bathman in his Medium article is excellent. The
Oh
so
nice.
that's like how to set up like Slack for like to
Four
be
shortcuts.
interfaced with
That's
from
awesome.
with shortcuts, which is super awesome. The other thing is in the second bullet of the second bullet list in my post. I should probably have like pointed this out a little bit, like with a button or something. There's a link to my data jar Slack dictionary shortcut. So this shortcut I love a great deal. Once you have interfaced with Slack, what this does is it logs into is it hits the Slack API and gets a list of all of the Slack channels that you have access to and their API keys and puts them in a dictionary and data jar.
This
I
is
don't
just
know
not
why it's
working.
not working.
I mean, that's shortcuts loveliness for you. Oh, the iCloud link not working for some reason.
Oh, I just clicked it and it worked.
I'm just kidding. It's just my shortcuts app. I think specifically on this iPad, I think I need to set it up from scratch because, yeah, just nope, nope.
Refresh the page.
Oh, there it goes.
There we go. So yeah, what it does is yeah, it just uses URL and it builds a like repeat with each.
Nice.
You'll need your API token to run it.
Um, Real quick for anyone who doesn't know, if you hit customize shortcut, once you add an import question, that option shows up and you can run those import questions again, which is nice.
Oh, neat! I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, import questions are
Yeah, so it
usually
builds a
like
dictionary.
buried down there too, so people don't notice them. But nice. So this will make the dictionary for you.
Yeah. So yeah, so then you have a whole list of all your channels. So then that way, like if you want to make shortcuts that like
Ah,
interface with different channels or choose from list or whatever, now you've got their API keys all set up and you can do that real
nice.
easy.
That's smart. So that's you don't have to build that because I think that's what Airtable doesn't have a way to get your table IDs and view IDs out. So I have to like manually create them all. It's so stupid. Maybe I should look
Mm.
into that again. But yeah, this is all the depths. And I was just gonna say, I hate to tell you guys. Bill says, I hate to tell you guys this, but despite your protests, this counts as programming. It's like
Oh,
this is
oh,
all absolutely programming at this point
I'm gonna
and building
screenshot
JSON
that
and
and
all
put that on my resume. Thank you, Bill.
that. Man, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I literally didn't understand this until I was doing shortcuts and at workflow. That when I was like repeating with each and going through things, that was a for loop in programming, and that's and also that's all that programming was. Like I think specifically, and not in a like condescending way, but in a like just kind of mind blowing way of like when I looked at the dark sky API and it's like, oh, all you really do is get the data and then look at lists and then build that up and save it. And then it's like tons of math and date stuff that all those things where you're like, where do I need to know math in high school?
Mhm.
You're like, oh, it's going to be tons of just very simple arithmetic. But even I noticed specifically with shortcuts originally when there wasn't newer advanced actions like the calculate stuff. I had to learn how to do math sequentially again, but because of shortcuts and like to do it in order. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the order of operations and all those things can just like really get you when you're going step by step by step, as opposed to just a calculation like you normally have. But that's why this stuff is super powerful too. Let me, he was saying some more too.
We had a question. We promised you a question.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to get to that just after this too. I'd love, I keep approaching it from developer's perspective, expecting and trying things that developer work with only works about 30% of the time. That's totally fair. And then he was saying that JSON stuff is where he feels most at home. I think Bill, we should talk about this specifically because I'd like to talk with a developer about the overlap with shortcuts. So send me a message and maybe we can do a call or something. Or record it or stream or whatever. But just because I think that's a very specific angle that I'd love to know more. And I'm also still ignorant in that realm of like, I don't know what else it does that's like programming because I don't know programming. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like my extent. Like I did like one semester of computer science in my very short tenure at the University of Victoria in British Columbia, and I wrote IRC scripts in the early '90s. I don't think that qualifies as anything recyclable at this point at all. But I mean, but I did learn like that, like what you're saying about sequential calculation of things, and here it runs and so on. So I think I probably have some concepts that I was able to keep from that.
Yeah.
But
that's what I always wondered too, because I did some SQL stuff for like some data visualization things, and that also helped teach me that. But it's hard to, I mean, let's back to the original question, which was also Bill. What's a good source of shortcuts, best practices, or what I'd wish I'd known when I started getting serious about shortcuts? And I've specifically been trying to basically, first of all, just build this because there aren't like, I mean, even what you were saying, Scotty, that you were Googling for it, there's not like a whole catalog of people out there writing about shortcut stuff, which is why I'm trying to link to you more in my newsletter, Scotty, of trying to get people like you to write about it because it helps a lot. It's super interesting. And I think I've spent a ton of time going back to the basics. And that's what I love about doing these streams is that I could just go like extremely deep in like a second. Whereas, and sometimes in my YouTube videos, I'm trying to be like, here's how to start with finding people to trust about shortcuts. I mean, definitely the shortcuts user guide. I always mention that, but that's like, for anybody who doesn't know, they actually do need to update it because it uses the Dark Sky API in their example. Okay, what is it?
Yeah, oops.
I wrote that and they closed down the API since then. So, but yeah, in here in the advanced section, there is like, I had to write intro to JSON. Like, this is what I'm telling you when I wasn't a programmer. I was like, what is this? What are APIs? Like, I didn't understand that application programming interface means that it's just a way, it's like shortcuts actions for the web or for developers to use to program these things. And yeah, there's a whole version to walk through and it should teach you some of those things. I mean, I think what feedback that I've seen that is totally true is this will teach you, I mean, this is true of almost all of Apple's docs. Oh, I'm just realized I'm not showing it. I'm dumb. It will teach you how to use it, but it won't teach you like why or the mindset around it. And so this specifically is a video that I'm like trying to make, but I'm trying to flesh it out fully of just the ways that you would use shortcuts. And this, like, specifically, Scotty, I'm just going to ask you now of like, I want to have you and Rose and David and Chris and like do a powwow of ways that you are using shortcuts.
Yes,
and, like,
1,000 times
types
yes.
of shortcuts, because it's like,
Battery
yeah, exactly.
of people.
I think
yes.
When I was trying to write these notes too, I realized that I always forget to say the web angle. And I think that's a huge part of what shortcuts can do is tap into these web APIs. There's also like
Yes.
controlling your devices. There's connecting in between your apps. So like that thing I was saying, we're moving from reminders to something else. That can be extremely powerful because it can just do it all in one go. You can do whole like custom app scenarios where you're building a shortcut that interacts with itself. And like, I mean, all mine have menus and things like that now. So that's also like another level. It's one of those things though that I'm always like, I don't remember what I'm missing because I'll always like just know in the moment, like I'm at that point with shortcuts. So it's like harder to go back down to like the simpler level sometimes.
I mean, I think you hit it too with the why, because I like, to me there's probably like 3 or 4 major reasons why I'm using a shortcut. So and I have to remember which purpose I mean to have in a
I like
moment,
that.
because I will forget. Like, because the first one and the one that I have to look out for is like shortcuts for playground. Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see what I can do, and I'm gonna muck around and I'm gonna explore and that sort of thing. And like when I'm in that mode, that's fine. But when I mean to be in one of the other 3 modes, that's when I have to like look out for that.
That's fair.
The second is for like basically adding a feature. Like, what can my device not currently do? But if I string together the right sort of
I like that.
things and questions, I can now make it do that. The third is, how do I get easier access to either a feature that does exist or a group of features that exist? Like, so how do I'm not building a feature necessarily, but I'm making things more easily available to myself. And then the fourth is like for like shortcut for repetition, for like, I know I'm going to have to do this thing 80 bazillion times.
Yeah.
How do I set myself up to be able to make all but one of those 80 bazillion easy?
Is that the same as the feature thing though, or would the feature thing more be one-off type situation? Or
I mean, the feature thing would be more like, yeah, I mean, it's like a lighter touch sort of thing, right? Like you're not wrong. I mean, it's but I think in one case I'm optimizing for the at-handedness of something, and in the other I'm optimizing for, and I know I'm going to do this over and over and over again. Like sometimes the repeatability one is like a one-time, like the user interview shortcut is a great example of that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna run it 20 times to set up those 20 user interviews, and then I'm going to say that it's served its purpose and thank it for its service, and let it go in a Marie Kondo kind of way, in which I fold it 4 ways into a square and it off into the. That's okay.
It's actually 3 ways.
Because the other thing that I have to remember is that, well, that's, my drawers are screwed. But that's something I have to remember though too, is that I think that the ephemeral shortcuts are fine. And totally. Sometimes I get like so hung up on like designing the most wonderful shortcut, because I will want it lovingly placed and arranged in the right folder in which it belongs, with the right color and the right glyph and all of those things forever, when really I'm just going to run it a whole bunch of times now and then delete it. I'll probably never use it again.
Yeah.
Right. So like you're optimizing for reusability and for something, because you're running a catalog that's meant to serve all of us, and we thank you for it. But I mean, for personal use, I probably wouldn't. I mean, for distribution, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and for a lot of people to have value.
Yeah, I mean, I do think my approach with the menus has made it easier to just keep that thing around, as opposed to it having sort of a cost. Although I guess there's still, I see it in the menu, but it doesn't have like the additional shortcut cost that I just want to like keep it clean. I think part of the goal in the long run is to share them so that I can delete them also, so that I also have that link on my website as the backup, if the link still works. But
too soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. Did you have any more on that, or?
What do I wish I like? Yeah, I mean, a purpose, like letting it be ephemeral. And the other is that like like one of my favorite shortcuts is one that I call strip formatting, and all it does is it grabs the content of a clipboard, grabs the text from input, and then puts the text back on the clipboard.
Nice.
So that if I copy rich text that has like weird formatting or something like that, I can just strip the formatting and paste it as plain text.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just like the tiny little
like
utility.
not every
So,
shortcut has to be like this super fancy. Like I can use shortcuts for these. Like I mean, I have some
vehicles,
crazy
yeah.
wild shortcuts that do a lot of things, but I can also have like these like super basic ones that just fulfill a particular need, and that's okay too. Like not everyone needs to make me try and look like a nuclear physicist of shortcuts.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what for before I turned all of mine into these menus that had larger numbers, almost every single shortcut was less than 9 actions. It's like they are technically shortcuts, and building an app out of it and a whole workflow is like not what it's really designed for anymore. Or like it could be, but that's going to be an interesting thing to see how they just change it in the future. Of are they going to continue optimizing for deeper apps or like custom apps or just shortcut type things, which is all I think totally valid too. Like that exact same thing of just
Sure.
one little feature. I think that's why it's so good is that it can do the whole breadth and do it really well.
Words matter though. Like I would say like the thinking of it as shortcuts is very different to me than thinking of it as workflow.
Yeah. And Siri shortcuts specifically too. Like that's why all of mine
Mhm.
were phrased like titles of something that you would ask Siri. But ultimately, when you have 1,700 of them, it doesn't. You're never going to remember a single one of them. So, also
It's
Bill has
true.
some follow up comments about of just like
Okay.
he's like, I feel like you're getting 95% of it working, only to discover that the last percent is literally impossible. That's totally fair. And then wanting that he
Yeah.
wants the developers to help too. I mean, I think an important thing is to um uh, always like knowing where you're starting. Usually that's actually a little bit easier. But like in terms of thinking of how to build a shortcut, it's like know where you're starting and then generally know where you're ending and maybe even put it in the shortcut. Although I usually will end up deleting it until I get back to that point. But just kind of having that end goal in mind that you're working towards, just to make sure, even like for example, that wherever you're trying to place it can work. I think an important thing
Hmm.
too, though, is the 80-20 rule or whatever that sort of applies here.
Yeah.
Of a lot of times, shortcuts getting me 80% of the way there is good enough for me. And if I can just copy it to my clipboard and then paste it into the final app or something like that, instead of it literally going into those rows, that's like good enough for me a lot of times. Like I will still build out that workflow because
Shortcutting the shortcut is fair.
yeah, and just like it's about, I think what shortcuts is really good at is setting you up for another situation as that you just otherwise would never do because you're on your phone is usually the case, or your iPad. But I think that's where it can get really helpful, is just like taking you there and setting you in front of the thing so that you're just like, fine, I'll do it. And then it's right there.
Yeah.
So that kind of like nudging towards your goal, I think, can be really helpful. And specifically, I mean, it does depend on what you're trying to do, but I do find that like copying data to my clipboard and then being able to paste it into
Yep.
the app is a pretty good solution. Or like save it somewhere else and then just stick
Hmm.
it in there.
Yeah. At least sort of structure it for yourself so that you
Hmm.
like, okay, I can't take this stuff and interface it into a particular app in the way I wish. But you know what? I can make a draft maybe, I guess, and do like, label this, label this, label this, label this, or
Yeah,
a table or something somewhere. Like how can I make it, if I can't get the information or the data where I want it to like end up ultimately, like what is the next best version of that, so that so that if I have to do the last mile manually, I'm at least making that part as easy on myself as I possibly can.
totally. Or you just go way overboard and change all of your systems so that they work with
Yeah,
shortcuts.
that's right. You just say, you know what, thank you, developer, I'm going to use another app, and
I
I'm
mean,
just
like,
going to lose the next month and a half to reorganizing my life around
I think
app choice.
I think that's something that I want to like hold to a little more next year. I think is more getting to be more fair as shortcuts continues to get more powerful, and if Apple ever talks about it also would be really nice. Then I think it being a standard for at least pro apps that use support shortcuts, I think is going to be more and more necessary, because I know that for me and for people like Federico, it can be like, I'm just not even going to consider this because I'm going to get my data stuck in these apps and or not be able to pass it in that I want to with shortcuts. And so I think some of that stuff can go really far. But that also, I mean, that can go really far for getting support for your app is what I mean. But also, like, that's totally why I use Airtable, is because I can just build it myself in Airtable and with the flexibility there, and then their API adjusts to my data, and then I can just work backwards from there. So
For sure. I mean, I don't have numbers to substantiate anything, but I get the sense that, like, I mean, there's way more usage of shortcuts than there was of Automator, I think. Like, and I'm not slagging Automator. I mean, it's
I have
fine.
to assume so. There's purely by the number of iOS devices that exist in the world compared to Macs.
That
like,
too.
yes, there's. I guarantee it.
Well, on my Twitter feed, when home screens became a thing, will tell you, like, when was the last person you saw mass tweeting about a very excitable function in Apple script? Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean,
not so much.
Ages. What was the last? I mean, we were talking about. Also, I didn't ask you before we started how long you want to go. But
I don't know. It's getting a little late.
I don't remember.
No, you're. I'm 1 hour in the future.
Okay, cool.
Oh my gosh, if I tilt my glasses up too much, you can see my light, and that's not good. I gotta work on that.
No, that's just the reality of lighting. I mean, the last mention here was
the reminders home screen.
Yeah. So this is built through Widgetpack and Charty.
Widgetpack and Charty, and I will say, like, I messed with this a lot, and I think I'm still kind of working on. I've got a new home screen motif that I'll be sharing with Learn OmniFocus, because it's very OmniFocus oriented. I'm doing a session with Tim in May. Head out to his website, learnomnifocus.com. You can sign up to join us. Visual, like, how much information to visualize, is a struggle. Like, I made a couple of versions of some stuff that, like, it presents super well. Like, it looks really neat on a web page, but then in like, because the intent was, how much information can I surface on my home screen of my phone so that I don't even need to interact with an app? Like, I can just see things. I can just pick up my phone, glance, and it's immediately useful, and then I can put it back down. That was the goal.
Fair.
And then I weigh over it, like, I'm like presenting like way too many things. So then I pick up my phone. I'm like, I don't want to know any. Now I don't want to know any of those things. There's just too many numbers.
I'm a dork, but these books are the, like, data visualization and that exact thing that you're talking about. Sorry, I guess I was trying to hold it up to the other camera. It's visual explanations, just visual display quantitative information, envisioning information. These are all, the Tufty is the god of that. That's what I was saying when I did SQL or SQL, depending on your preferences. That all that stuff is like that, exactly why I was in love with Charty when I first saw it, and I want to do more with it because of that exact thing. Of, like,
yes,
that's why the chart wheel is perfect. And I mean,
I love it. I love it. The idea of gamifying my tasks made me so happy. But yeah, so, like, getting to, like, the right level of granularity for, like, having this make sense was good. And I think this version of it is probably one of my favorites.
I mean, it just looks awesome.
I think in later versions I might have, like, changed the Charty one so that it was only a small size widget, and then I've got a spot for, like, 4 icons or apps next to it, rather than having because of the legend, you get to know it after a while. You don't really have to have that there all the time. But yeah, so there's a couple of shortcuts. There are 2 different shortcuts there, I guess. One is for the dashboard, and one is for the Charty widget. So the dashboard one uses, I mean, Widgetpack to me is so cool. Like,
it's so intense. Like,
yes. Yes, it is. It it required plenty to get to learn and get to know. But I mean, basically, you use a bunch of shortcuts actions to put together um, a view. I think in widget pack parlance, it's a view. So
Mm-hmm.
you construct a view, and then you can like tailor the view, and then you put all the views together into a widget, and then there you go. Then you've got a widget. It's
Does
real nice.
your does it link to run the shortcut when you tap on the dashboard?
Yes.
What the heck?
Yes.
I almost swore because
Yes.
that's awesome. Imagine me
Yes.
saying a different, more
Um,
intense word.
Sorry, this
No,
is
that's
after 9
awesome.
o'clock, so
That's
I
so
gotta be.
cool.
I watch my language. I think I've been on good behavior though.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was just
Um,
saying that for myself. Yeah, wow. This is like
yeah,
you're
I'll tell
literally
you. I'll tell you.
designing it.
I've even been putting together like templates for like like I use Agenda as my app for notes, and I've been putting like little templates in it where like there are emojis, and if you they're linked to
Does
stuff,
this you
so I
can
can
link
just
to
tap.
reminders? You did this.
So that's undocumented. I did a lot of searching to be able to find that.
I mean, I'm
But
sure
yes,
Alex
you
Hay
can.
told you, but
I'm 90% sure that's probably who I lifted this from.
yeah, just because of the
But yeah,
section.
you can grab the UUID. This probably requires um, get reminder UUID. Yeah, this shortcut must require Toolbox Pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's you can use
Yeah.
the URL of that scheme x-apple-reminder kit. I mean, it's undocumented, so I mean, for all I know, it doesn't even work anymore. It
Yeah,
might be
that's fair.
broken now. Um, yeah. So then it just puts together nice little lists of all of the things, and then based on conditions, like all of the calendar events in the display are yellow. All of the due reminders are red. The flagged ones are orange, and the ones that are tagged in a certain way are blue. And then you got a nice little sort of visual indicator of like why that particular reminder is showing up there.
I love this. How long did this take you to make?
Well,
Like a week? More?
probably a lot of time, but I would say there's a lot of tuition value. I mean, I got a lot of experience with widget pack out of this.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
So
say. Like you'll for sure know, because I mean you're using every part of it. This is what
yeah.
I've always like. I always want to do on a stream, but I do just like I get. It's like I'm like, oh my god, I can't like. Just processing it live is so much harder than it would definitely take me at least a solid like 2. I mean, like just knowing what you want to do is part of it. Knowing what's possible with this tool and like the way they're like esoteric version of it, but because I can't tell.
Yeah. So some of the things are weird too. Like, I mean, you get to know like the nuances of each thing, right? How the alignments work, um,
I don't
and so
understand
on.
how it is building the widget out of this. Like, which
Okay,
does
so
this just
you get all
affect
of those
the
different
widget
views.
every time? Like the one widget, or
No. Okay, so like so for example, that you've got that display text of like what will you say yes to, um, which I think is only showing up if you that's a conditional. If
yeah,
if all of your tasks are done, then instead of get to it, you say what will you say yes to,
okay.
and then um, below that it formats it.
But do you just literally do this sequentially, and then whatever is added to the widget gets updated sequentially? Because you're not specifying which widget or like where in the
Right.
order.
So right.
Is
So
this all at
you
the
first
end?
you have to create the views, and then you stack the views into a widget. So you create. So there, I'm creating a vertical
I have
stack out
it.
of that list, and in that list is like
Uh,
previous views.
hmm.
So yes, like so each you kind of make a component, and then you put all the components together in either a horizontal stack. So a horizontal
Yeah.
stack might be like an SF symbol and then a piece of text, and you put that together into a stack,
Hmm.
and then you take that stack, which is a view, and then you create a link. You link it to something else, and then maybe you format it, like you add some padding around it, or you set a color or something like that, and then you take all of those views that you've then got and put them together into a
Like
vertical
down
stack.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a Z stack is like imagining layers, right?
Wow.
So like in my Z stack, the background is black, and then the next layer is, I don't know, all my vertical stack,
Hmm.
and then and then the last action actually creates the widget.
I forgot there's a return to home screen. Man, Alex really did. He has literally added
Yeah,
every feature that they
honestly,
haven't
that's a
added.
gem. That's a gem. I mean, like if you don't like explore Toolbox Pro a whole lot, I mean, first of all, the fact that Alex A is a wonderful human person, also the return to home screen action is worth the price of admission alone.
Nice. Also, apparently, Bill can use widget pack as a tax write-off because I don't know how exactly what that means. It's like it's for work.
Just made it a tax write-off.
Yeah, exactly. That's good.
That's
And
awesome.
also, a comprehensive list of apps that support shortcuts really well. I'm going to build that also using shortcuts and Airtable. I actually just added 500
Hmm.
or apps to my Airtable thing today. And he's also said he's going to burn everything down and switch to apps that do it better. So I mean
Okay,
that's what's hard.
I just wanted to say though, I do want to say though, in defense of some of the apps that don't do shortcut support, I think that a high functioning URL scheme is close. Like
Yeah,
that's a pretty close second.
I don't want to. I don't
You
want to
guys and your
encourage anyone
things,
to
you guys
start
and your
learning that though.
things
Like
is pretty good. Well, I'm not excusing it. But I'm saying, right? Like,
that's why I'm not more mad at things or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
also it's still
I,
like nobody should be building those into new apps in the future and stuff. I mean, or you can, but like that market is going to get smaller and smaller. I do think I don't know. I got to just talk about those apps more. That'll just be my solution. Use public pressure. Um, this is crazy. This isn't even the whole shortcut. Oh,
oh,
this is just for the
the
charting
other one
one.
is the chart you have. The chart
Oh,
you
let
have.
me get it.
Hey, sorry, can I just ask? Can
Sure.
this is maybe indecorous, but it's 9:11 p.m. Can you just drop my video off, or can I just pause my video for just a second here? How do I do
Sure. I
that? Do
think
I
if
just click
you
on?
undo your in Skype, just
Oh,
hit the
if I just turn video off like that,
yeah and mute yourself.
is
I
that
guess.
okay? Okay, no, mute is fine. I think my son wants to go
Sure.
into his room
No problem.
behind me. I'm keeping him up.
Sorry about that.
No, I lied. He probably gave up. He's off to watch some Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something. So you're welcome, son.
It's like my dad being a nerd on the internet. No.
Yeah, like it was a proud dad moment. It was like my 11-year-old who's like super pumped for like the iOS 14 beta
Yeah.
and was building widgets and stuff. So good,
That's
so
awesome.
good.
I gotta.
So yeah, this is the charty one. So basically, it operates on counts, right? Where it counts um, how many remain of a certain condition, plus how many are completed of a certain condition. Add those together, and
Hmm,
that's your maximum. And then you compare the number completed against
I
the
see.
maximum, and that's how far your ring is closed.
Nice. And then create
Um,
chart.
I think it
Count series.
requires is the new version out yet? Is 1.4 on the App Store yet?
I don't think so
Probably
actually.
requires. It's coming soon. I know that Rodrigo's been working on the um, documentation and stuff. I'm just checking. I know that it's coming out this month if it's not out now.
Yeah.
Where are we? Yeah, no, it's coming soon. There's a date, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I wanna I wanna revisit Bill's question real quick before I forget about it too. Of just other stuff I wish I'd known when I first started getting serious about shortcuts. That's a different question than getting started with shortcuts. Because getting started is I would not teach you the scripting stuff, but I do think I prefer to use magic variables. How much do you use those? It looks like you did. Like these ones you renamed.
Oh, lots and lots.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it
So that
depends
was
on how
just for
long
that
it is.
logic.
Like if it's long, I will do set variable just so that I can remember it and not have to go back because the way in which you rename magic variables, you have to use it before you can rename it,
Yeah,
which
which is silly.
feels backwards to me. It feels like I should name it so that I can use it.
I wish it even I mean, I wish it made it show up everywhere properly, and then I wish also, I think even if you just tapped this, if it showed the name or something in there, that would be convenient. Like just some way to see
Mm.
it on, like up there, scripting, blah blah blah. You renamed it versus like you actually renamed that one, but you can't tell. So that's a big thing. Is like once you use it, instead of declaring it as a variable every time, you can just use it and then rename it so that you have that reference point so that you know what's happening in the process there at least, but and then you can at least always reveal back and check. But yeah, like so you went in
Hmm.
and went click this and then renamed it to do remaining.
Yeah.
So I definitely
Again, because it's short enough.
yeah, I mean that's one of the major things. I mean the whole part about being able to change types here, like being able to grab different details out of that reminder or even fully change it into a different type is a super important one. But that's like gets pretty specific too. I think that's what's hardest. There's not really like a great guide. It's like keep watching these streams and we'll do it
Yeah.
because that's what I want to do more live. It's like there is so much to capture with it that synthesizing it is like a 6-day course. So probably got to work on
Totally.
something
I
like that
wanted to
soon.
follow up though, a follow up of fact from Twitter.
Oh,
Shardy 1.1.4 is on April 23rd.
okay,
And the
nice.
correct answer is April 23rd. Because that supports the ring chart and these other things. So yeah, I think right now all this stuff that I'm doing would require the test flight, which I think is public. Like
Yeah,
you can go check it out.
I think it's
But I don't
it's
want to
gonna be what
mislead
it's
anyone.
gonna be in the future. But yeah, if you are running into that,
Yeah.
nice. That's good though. I love those rings. It's like make your own Apple Watch style rings for any
Hmm.
type of data. Okay, so I feel like health is the clear one that you could use with this and make your own activity rings. I want to think of other sources of data for these types of charty things or reminders, or like the text lists. I mean, health data is probably going to be some of the biggest ones. I like the kind of serendipity of okay, dropping out for a second, but I'll just keep going.
Yeah. No. 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 I'm
No
still here.
worries.
I'm just pausing video
Cool.
for the benefit of other people.
I feel like I mean I do playlist updates over time. Like, could you have this information
Oh,
rotate
yeah.
through what it's showing?
Well,
Or
sure. I mean, you could draw different charts and then
ooh, I wish.
or you could just draw different charts on top of it. So like you could say in the morning. So for example, like I have an automation that runs at like 6:05 a.m., 11:05 a.m., and 5:05 p.m. Um, because I want to show in a given widget OmniFocus tasks that are tagged morning, afternoon, and evening, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
So you could totally do that and just overwrite it with like different things. But that would be a really fun charty chart actually too. Is like imagine you have a playlist, and then you count the number of items in the playlist, and you count the number of items that have been played today.
Yeah,
So you could have like a little game of have I listened to all the songs in my playlist
or
today?
just like how far into
Um,
it you are. Yeah, or like even some
yeah.
sort of yeah, like to the end of the playlist, the total goal. Hmm. I like
Mhm.
that.
Or mindful minutes. That would be another interesting one of like health data. Like have I been using my Calm app? Have I been breathing? Have I been head spacing? Have I been doing that sort of stuff? That might be another interesting one.
Easy to just
Not just like in a ring chart, but you could do that like over time as well. So you could like look at like the number of minutes per day over like the last like 7 days or something like that, and have a running 7 day view.
Maybe day one charts. These are all, that's data. It's
Sure, day
usually any
one.
of the find or get actions are going to be good ones. Jeez.
Yeah.
Let me do get. This is also this is something that's in the shortcuts user guide too, but is a sort of the mindset approach thing. It's get, transform, and share. This was sort of the mindset that I like literally remember talking with them about, of like, what do you do in shortcuts? Because it is, you have to like start somewhere, then you process it, and then you go somewhere. Usually it could be
And
maybe
then
the back end of the same spot, or just telling you right now what's happening. But I think that's a helpful framework of like splitting the actions into these three categories. Then you can like understand how you get stuff into it, then what you can do to operate on it, and then where it can go later. So get all these. Yeah, you could do like your podcast queue. I guess maybe that specific charty chart. You could have like your buffer queue even. That's kind of cool. Like upcoming content, but that depends how much you're posting. That's like a brand. I used to do social media marketing. Yeah, I mean, even like my sheets. I feel like most of this, or your queue, that could be a good one for Castro. MSC Tech. Wow, everything uses the word get. I did not. Oh, I was expecting a lot more with find, and this is just like a huge list.
Yeah, it's weird. And then you get companies that like, or developers that don't follow the sort of standard nomenclature. So you have like some that say that do say find instead of get, and then it's weird. And then I'm like, oh, why?
I didn't
Because
know
I have
that
muscle
this was
memory
as
about
common.
gets.
So that is it is an interesting thing. I think there's always, I feel like I say this on like every stream, but developer relations for shortcuts probably would have been my job if I stayed at Apple. And so like coming up with that system and communicating it with them would have been my job also. So some of these, like, yeah, you could do it with Todoist. I'm not sure specifically what I'd do here. Like if I could get my deliveries. I just like the chart thing so much. It's like I want to like force it into
that would be
thing.
interesting, actually. I wonder if deliveries, I wonder if you could get like the total number of miles between where it started and you,
like
and
how
then
far
like based on how far, like how geographically how much progress it's made.
Maybe. I don't think the deliveries those are just basic integrations.
Or if you've got like an or estimated delivery date, you could say like between like when it's shipped and when you're supposed to get it, and how close are you to that. You can visualize that.
That's a good one. We'll have to send it to the people directly, I guess, in order for them to implement it.
Or you can just make it in Charty and.
Well, I just mean like getting the data
Give me stuff to blog about
of the deliveries thing. But yeah, I mean, even just requesting that, I think sometimes, I think it is, especially right now, even a couple months before WWDC, I think is going to be one of the least likely times that developers will implement shortcuts, unfortunately, because they just have priorities. So I think maybe writing up use cases of what you would want could still be worth it, though, because then they can kind of, once developers get new APIs, they can get ready to go. So I feel like I'm totally down to do streams about stuff that I want that doesn't exist yet, because I think that's, it's like not naturally a subject for a stream. It's like, here's stuff that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah,
I think
I would
that
like you to
be
bang
really
your head
brainstorm.
up against something you can't do. Could you just do something that you can't do for a while? That sounds like fun.
But I think
but
like
it would be interesting to do
ceiling.
like specific use case of like, okay, here's a shortcut that we could just try and do.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, what would I do if this was all, assuming everything was possible? I think that's always what's interesting, and sometimes you kind of run into that with shortcuts. Here's Joe coming in with a question. As a developer of an app with shortcut support, I would love to have some sort of developer relations support, not just for questions, but for publishing best practices. I mean, that's definitely best practices are like at a certain point. I also don't think they're out there yet. Like, what are the best? Like, you would know more than anyone, Joe. Like, you've built a ton of actions. I mean, like, I think specifically for apps like Timery or Widget Pack, like, I think these are too many actions. So I think some way to, I don't know. It's hard because like even Joe, you're a really good example of the depth of parameter how do I say the sentence? Depth of parameterization of an action. Like, because there's so many different types of things that you could do, and you also want to add all the parameters for it, which I'm totally here for. I think there has to be a way to build those shortcuts actions, like a style of like, maybe it's just a selection at the top that lets you change the type, and then that's when all the parameters change or things like that. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Joe wants the official source from Apple, but I'm just saying, like, you have built some of the best set of actions out there, and so like they could learn from you as much as you could learn from them. Yeah, like I don't know, we gotta stick them on, send you out to them or something like that. Or it is like I think that's why I want to sit down. Like Joe, you're great. You, Alex, Simon. And then honestly, like it would be really nice of someone like Marco who just recently built them, but also he kind of built them oddly as well. Like they're, and I don't know how to even put my hand on it or my finger on it, that like the parameters, I thought some of the parameters should be part of the sentence structure that shows, but he had them as drop downs. And so like why? I think this is something that like I would have talked with the team in depth about, but like I just literally didn't work there when they built this kind of, when they like had these actions developed. And so that's a technical discussion that is just sort of like beyond me at this point because I never actually practiced it from the inside. So I think that's totally fair though, and I think even just the limits that Joe you've hit, I think deserve some sort of like resource like that. But if you could, I don't know, that's like work with them this summer or something. I feel like that's the perfect time for something like that to happen, of like shortcuts developers connecting with Apple directly about best practices for actions, or also like let's do a Slack chat or stream like this with the other developers. So Joe, let's do that soon. I feel like that's the exact kind of thing. It's like let's just make it happen because they're not gonna, who knows what they're doing, so we can't really rely on that at that point. Oh yeah, here's Dever presentation of parameters. Yeah, and I'm not even saying yours. Like I think yours are fine too. It's a different degree of, I mean, this is all just that's a discussion worth having that is there's not a clear answer to every time and totally depends on every app also. So I think that's why ultimately some of this stuff can really be like an intense discussion. Like to actually engineer this takes a good amount of work. And so that's why especially smaller apps probably don't have the resources of just being able to dedicate 2 weeks to really figure this out without those best practices too. Does Apple actually engage with shortcuts users as developers in any official? I don't think so. Like you can ask them at labs and stuff like that at WWDC. So I think specifically that's a really good time. I think if you send in email questions and stuff, it can get back to them. But I don't think like the shortcuts team is answering developer questions. I'm not sure how Apple works with developers in general in types of those questions. Maybe not the best there at the scale of it, but the documentation I've seen has been published in the user space. Yeah, no, there's documentation for sure for all of this stuff, but Apple, I think for a while, their documentation was just like, here it is, and then not like how it worked or anything. So they're famous for also just dropping documentation that doesn't really explain it. Or like very esoteric use cases, and Shortcuts works with every single type of app in the App Store. So how it works for a time tracking app is like just not something they've thought through yet, because it doesn't apply to their apps or anything like that too. So I think that's where that's what I mean. It's like, let's do this roundtable for sure, because otherwise there's nothing else that's going to connect the developers like that. And I think I'd love to just sit here and be an idiot and just have no idea what I'm talking about and just hear you all talk about code too. So that's a good thread.
It's my move. Stop stealing my shtick. I'm supposed to be the one who just shows up and be an idiot, and I can just drag and drop actions around.
Well, that's what I'm doing on this one. You taught me all this, so this stuff is great.
God.
I feel like we should probably wrap up, but I feel like we got through most of all of it. Like, we got through the 3 posts. I mean, I still will have to take some time to like re-wrap my head around it, but I still think understanding some of that widget pack stuff, and then what's possible with the Slack API is really cool, and just this blocks thing, like building out your own fancy workflows without a Slack bot, and then all of those edit actions too. That stuff is great.
Yeah.
We should just message about this or tweet about it. I want to think through how to use those new actions in the betas, like take screenshot and sell data. I don't know. That one's kind of boring. And then orientation lock. I think it's all pretty clear. I think the take screenshot one, I don't really know. I haven't been able to think of anything fancy, like besides just use Federico's thing that also takes the screenshot at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like those frames type shortcuts that like take your screenshot and put it into a nice frame and everything, so it's nice and presentable. You can augment that with a take screenshot action, so it's like pre-framed and ready to roll.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat.
I can't use his idea, so
I don't know. I have a hard time figuring out like what to do with that exactly, because I've got like it's 2 buttons, and I squeeze them, and then I've got a screenshot. I don't know that I need I feel like I have so much muscle memory about that.
Yeah. I was thinking like, and I could just upload it to Dropbox immediately, but it all has to be Siri commands at that point, because it's going to immediately take a screenshot. That's what I like. This is one of those perfect ones where I'm like, this is going to be so great. And then you get it and you're like, wait, what do I do? Like,
well, okay, but if you trigger it by Siri, does it take screenshot with Siri like invoked on the screen?
No, you can even do that with Siri now. Just say take a screenshot and it'll wait and then take whatever was on the screen. So I feel like sometimes it's just they are like replicating that kind of stuff. But I mean, being able to just like, if you know you're in the right place and you were like, upload this to Dropbox, and it took a screenshot and saved it to Dropbox, like that is pretty nice. But I don't need that. So that's why sometimes I'm always like, I don't need this, but this could be cool.
You know what you could do? Like, what if you wrote like a blog post, and then you had like a piece of placeholder text or something of like insert screenshot here or something like that, and then you run an action or a shortcut that takes a screenshot and then grabs your blog post and replaces the text with the image and then puts that in place.
I love you.
What about
Can I do that? Yeah, if I just have all the placeholders, because I hate adding screenshots to my articles, because I go so in
I hate
depth.
doing anything in any web publishing anything. I hate all of it.
Thankfully it's not, but specifically I'll have like 30 steps in an article, because I'm like, go do all this, and then I have to go step by step. And so if it could get that article and find the next instance of where I need a screenshot, but like I just like go to the right spot, and like every time it just does
the 2 sentences that come before that.
Yeah, it's like every time every time I go to that spot, it could go take the screenshot and then rename it and put it right into the article. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, because I hate that. Okay. I literally like. If you make that, I just published an article called "Allow Untrusted Shortcuts." I wrote that in 2018 originally. Like, I have had this huge backlog of stuff that I like kind of started to write and then never really got around to, and it's usually because of screenshots. And then now I could just like, okay, I think that's it. That's the one. I'd have to have some sort of regular expression or like something. I'll just get Antonio to do it for me because he always does that.
Okay, I like it. Please, and then share it, please, because I would love to. I would love to include more screenshots. Probably, I don't because it's just such a pain in the ass, and sorry,
Yeah, no,
it's
that's
so
fine.
difficult and problematic for me to do that, and um,
Yeah.
I hate every web publishing environment because honestly, I just want to write everything in drafts and then have someone like read it. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I publish straight
That's
to
all I want.
WordPress. That's exactly why I use all that stuff. All right,
Yep.
let's make sure to. Oh yeah, a good other point. Media Kit can do some of that stuff, so that's a good point. Just those kind of. I should look through Reddit examples more because
What's
a
Media
lot of
Kit?
people have.
Is that a shortcut?
Yeah, it's like there's some specific one that does all the screenshot thing that you need and
Oh, neat.
that does. Just other people have a lot more deeper. Great sentence there.
We're
Workflows on
deeper.
Reddit. Yeah, it's like I love going
Yeah,
onto
we
the
got
Reddit and finding people who are way better than
9:35
us.
p.m. level grammar.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Bill was saying he appreciates hearing people, power users, not programmers. We're not programmers. Talk
No,
about their frustrations. So yeah, it's like exactly like
no.
I think that's the thing is there's a lot of things that I've just slowly accepted don't work with shortcuts, and it's hard for me to peel that back and tell people, oh yeah, this doesn't work, or like this could work in the future or whatever too. So that's always good to um, explain that stuff, and that's why we do these streams is because you can see
Yeah.
it in real time as we're operating on a shortcut and be like, oh, this always drives me crazy, or this is when you use magic variables, but not. So thank you, Scotty, for being on the stream. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. Thank you for being so patient for hounding me because I know I'm super non-committal and
No, not at all. Don't worry about it. It's I would love to have you on anytime. If I remember streaming with
let's do this
Chris
again.
and you want to interrupt Chris and come join us, let's do it. Like I want to get this stuff more casual. So
Nothing
that
would give me greater pleasure than to be able to
exactly. So
interrupt.
that'd be fun. All right. Where can people go find your stuff?
People can find me at heyscottyj.com. That's where my blog is and where I'm posting. And I'm in the process of doing some redesigning too, because like what I realized too is that like my blog is just like a straight blog. Like here's all my posts. But what I
So
would like to do is do a curated section of like here are my shortcuts, so that I can point people to like here's just the shortcuts, and then I'll cross post and have that stuff in the blog and news and stuff. But heyscottyj.com, and then the podcast that I do with Rosemary Orchard is nestedfolderspodcast.com.
nice.
And we would love to have you.
Awesome. Well, I will be listening.
Thanks
Did
for
you
hanging
just
in.
you said
For
episode 50,
anyone
right?
who did all 2 hours of this, you did an achievement that has been unlocked or something like that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. That's been awesome. I really appreciate all the chat stuff is
Shortcuts
too
bad.
great. And sorry, Bill, for banning you. I was like, oh my God. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to Shortcuts Office Hours. I will see you all next time. Bye.
Thanks, Hank.